remember when I was younger, when I was a kid growing up, my parents would be like, "Hey, Jared, we're going to the store." And I was someone who did not like shopping. I still don't really love shopping. I don't mind online shopping. That's pretty nice. Just boom, 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 right? We're good, right? But I didn't like shopping back then. Really didn't. I was a really stubborn kid too. But whenever I had to go, my response would always be a ton of follow-up questions. How long are we going to be gone for? How long is the drive? What are we shopping for? And I would just want to know all of the details about what was going to happen. And I asked all of these questions. And it's totally normal. I feel like I see this in kids all the time. Like, you tell a kid we're going to do something, and what do? They ask all the questions so that they know all the details of what's about to happen. I feel like it's something that's totally normal. And sometimes when God calls us to do something, our natural response is we just have a lot of questions. And I feel like sometimes we feel like we don't want to ask God those questions because we're kind of pestering him, or we're annoying him, or we don't have enough faith in him. But asking questions in some situations is kind of a normal response. It's a very human thing to do. And the people in the Bible are very, very human. So you'd expect there to be some instances where people might be questioning God in the same way that we might do today. Well, I want to highlight a character who definitely questioned God. And it might not be the character that you're expecting. I'm sure that you've heard all these amazing grand stories of Moses. I mean, he's one of the most revered and respected people in Jewish history for good reason. He was the one who led the Israelites out of Egypt, confronted Pharaoh, led them out, parted the water, right? Like, all of these amazing things that Moses did, a man of great faith. But even the man with great faith had questions for God. And I want to highlight some of them throughout the story of his calling in Exodus chapter 3, and then it even spans into Exodus chapter 4 as well. So basically, God tells Moses, I want to use you to deliver my people from the Egyptians. So the Israelites were slaves in Egypt, and God's like, Moses, I'm going to use you to do something about it. And Moses has questions. I think in the last video, we talked about the question where Moses asked, who am I to deliver God's people from Egypt? Moses said, who am I? And God responds with, I will be with you. Moses asks a question. God has an answer. But it doesn't end there. That's in some ways not quite good enough for Moses. That's not totally satisfactory for Moses. And so the conversation goes on. I want to kind of highlight some things I thought were kind of funny. Moses says to God, suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, the God of your fathers has sent me to you. And they ask me, what is his name? Then what shall I tell them? Moses has another question. How does God respond? In verse 14, God said to Moses, I am who I am. Moses asked a question. God responded. And then we keep on going. In verse 18, this is part of God's command. He says, go assemble the elders of Israel. So he's giving him a command to go and assemble the elders. And then it's kind of funny because it's almost like God anticipated that Moses would ask a question like, what if the elders don't listen to me? Then we see a little bit later in verse 18, the elders of Israel will listen to you. So it's like God kind of started by saying, hey, go do this. And as Moses asked questions, God started to give him more details. And almost to say like, Moses, I know that you have these questions, but I've already figured out all of the details. You just need to trust me on this. Like, you just need to go. You just need to step out into your out of your comfort zone because I've already taken care of the details here. Not quite what Moses does. Verse 19 is kind of funny. God says, but I know the king of Egypt will not let you go unless a mighty hand compels him. So it's like God says, but I know the king of Egypt won't let you go unless this happens. So I've already accounted for that as well. And God keeps on explaining all the details of this plan to Moses. And then we go into chapter 4. This has been a conversation, almost a whole chapter of God and Moses going back and forth. And Moses says, what if they do not believe me or listen to me and say the Lord did not appear to you? Wait, I thought that God said the elders will listen to you. I thought that God said that he already taken care of the king of Egypt. Already has a plan for that. But Moses answered in chapter 4, verse 1, what if? So Moses is imagining God's plan happening almost as if God isn't a part of it. Moses is saying, but wait, God, what if this happens? As if God hasn't already accounted for that detail, as if God hasn't already thought it through, as if God won't be right there with him every step of the way. Another commercial? Are you serious? Can't afford stock footage, so I just have to watch a YouTube video with ads. And I love that we have this example of Moses questioning God. But God, what if this happens? After God went through great lengths to explain to Moses, like, hey, I've thought this through in detail. I'm reminded of this verse in Isaiah chapter 55, verse 8. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are my ways your ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so my ways are higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts. I feel like God gave this not as a way to like condemn us or to look down on us, but to give us this reassurance of God saying like, hey, all of these questions that you have, I've already thought it through. All of these questions that you have, like, it's okay. You're allowed to ask questions. If you notice in the text, God continues to answer Moses' questions. I love how patient God is with Moses, and in the same way, God is patient with us. But I think that God's trying to teach us this lesson in Scripture, trying to say, like, I know that you have all these questions, but realize that I have all the details taken care of. God says, my ways are higher than your ways. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. I already have the details taken care of for the plan that I have for you. So this video is dedicated to anyone who has questions. Anyone who you feel like God has told you to do something, or you feel led by God to take a next step, and you're kind of scared to step out of your comfort zone because you don't know what's going to happen. You might be asking that question, but God, what if? What if they respond like this? What if this relationship falls apart? What if I lose my job? What if... I don't know what your version of a what if is, but God's already taken care of and thought through the details. What he's asking you to do is just be faithful and listen to him. The question is, are you willing to do that? Well, I guess that's for you to decide today. And ladies and gentlemen, that's all I got. Peace.